charter consistent.
Earlier this week, I asked the finance minister what she was doing to control the skyrocketing cost of living. All she did was shift blame, and she avoided the question. Yesterday, we received the news that we were all dreading. Stats Canada says the Consumer Price Index rose 5.1% in January, the worst it's been in over 30 years. Mr. Speaker, paychecks no longer go as far as they used to, and Canadians are getting left far behind. So I will ask again, what specifically is the minister doing to get inflation under control?
The Honourable Deputy Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, unlike the Conservatives, Canadians understand that inflation is a global phenomenon, and here are some numbers to back that up. The latest inflation number in Canada was 5.1%. In the U.S., it was 7.5%. In the U.K., it is 5.5%. Our inflation is lower than the G7 average, which is 5.5%, the G20 average, which is 6.1%, and the OECD average of 6.5%. Canadians understand, Mr. Speaker. It's time for the Conservatives to understand as well.
Well, member for Abbotsford.
Well, for months now, this Liberal minister has been claiming that inflation was transitory. Nothing to see here, folks. And this week, Stats Canada proved the minister wrong. Inflation is up again at 5.1%, the highest it's been over 30 years. Prices for fish up 8%, for beef up 12%, bacon 19%. How does this minister expect Canadians to put food on the table? When is this government going to realize that it has lost complete control over inflation?
The Honourable Deputy Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I think it was actually the chairman of the Federal Reserve who used the term transitory to characterize inflation. But let me just point out yet again that the Conservatives continue to push a false narrative, frankly, about everything that is happening in Canada, and very much including the economy. The fact is the Canadian recovery is strong. Our GDP grew by 5.4% in the third quarter. That beat the U.S., Japan, the UK, and Australia. And I also want to point out that S&P and Moody's both reaffirmed our AAA credit rating this fall.
The Honourable Member for Louis Saint Laurent. Mr. Speaker, 3 weeks ago, we were talking about inflation, and the finance minister said there's no problem. It's a global problem, and the IMF said Canada was doing well, and the GDP was going up. Wow, that's convincing, Mr. Speaker. Today, inflation is still rising. It's up to 5.1%. Beef is 13% more expensive, chicken 9%, gas 30%, housing 6%. That's the reality. The other reality is that this Liberal government is doing absolutely nothing about it. Could they just stop talking about the IMF and talk about the inflation that's hitting all Canadians as a real thing? The Honourable Deputy Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, we will not be lectured by the Conservatives when it comes to helping Canadians, the most vulnerable Canadians, deal with the cost of living. We have implemented indexed benefits that have helped some 300,000 children through the child benefit to get out of poverty. We've also indexed the GIS to inflation, and that has helped over 900,000 seniors. That's what we've done, Mr. Speaker.